Hey everybody, Sean here, and welcome to Revealing Truth. In today's video, we're going to hear Robert Morris manipulate Scripture in a way that is not only wicked, but absolutely wrong. And remember, these prosperity hustlers are all cut from the same cloth.
Let me ask you a question, all right? If Jesus himself said you ought to tithe, would you tithe? Okay, I'm going to go ask these people over here. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. Let me ask all of you, okay? Campuses, all the churches. If Jesus himself said you ought to tithe, would you tithe? Yes. Okay. Here's the sad part. Some of us still have to think about it. That the one that bled and died on the cross, if he said you ought to give 10%, we still have to think about it. Okay, so let me put it another way. If Jesus said it, that you ought to tithe, in the New Testament, in red, would you do it? You want to see the verse? Matthew 23:23, Jesus is speaking. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you pay tithe, 10%, of mint, anise, and cumin, those are spices, and have neglected the weightier matters of the law, justice and mercy and faith. Watch very carefully. These you ought to have done without leaving the others undone. Okay, here's what Jesus said. You guys give tithes, not only of your first fruits, but you even give tithes of the spices that you're going to put on your food. But you've neglected justice, mercy, and faith. Then Jesus says, you ought to do that. You ought to do that. But don't leave the other undone. Now, one time after service, a guy came up to me and said, Pastor, I think that these you ought to have done refers to justice, mercy, and faith. I said, I don't think it does grammatically, and I don't think it does even in the original language, but I said, let's just say for a moment that your perspective is right. Let's just say this. These you ought to have done refers to justice, mercy, and faith. I said to him, what does the rest of the verse say? Without leaving the other undone. I got you either way. I got you either way. I got you either way.
It's absolutely disgusting that he would misrepresent Jesus' own words to mean we're supposed to give his church money. We have a whole playlist that exposes many of these greedy liars and explains in much more detail what tithing really means. But in short, it was under the Mosaic law, referred to crops and livestock, had nothing to do with giving money to a church, and today, as 2 Corinthians 9:7 says, we are to give as we have determined in our hearts, and not grudgingly or under compulsion. Robert Morris is a greedy scripture twister that uses Jesus' own words incorrectly to guilt his people into giving him money. Avoid this man at all costs and any other people that are preaching the same. We're going to leave it here for today, but as always, leave your comments below, and until next time, take care, and God bless.